then I would be saving myself thousands and thousands of dollars. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in for another edition of If I Knew Then What I Know Now. My name is Dexter Daniel. I am the founder and owner of Purpose Nav, an independent educational consulting firm that specializes in college and career planning and mental health support. Now, the purpose of this segment is to provide you all with some insight on a variety of different topics pertaining to personal growth and development and goal setting, and also provide you all as the viewers with the opportunity to chime in on these given topics with the hopes of helping others who are currently going through situations that are looking for insight on how to navigate the situation that they're currently in. Now, last week I spoke a little bit about the college admissions process and what my experience was like, given that this is the time of the year where a lot of students, high school seniors in particular, are in the middle of the college admissions process. You know, they're submitting their applications, or they're finishing up their applications, getting them ready to send them out, doing their college visits, whether in person or remotely. Having these conversations with their school counselors, with their families about, what their next step is after high school. Given that, you're about a third of the way through the school year already, and June is right around the corner. It might not feel like it, being that, winter's around the corner, and we got to get through winter first, but June, the end of the school year, will be here before you know it. And it's really an exciting time. I think this is probably the most exciting time of a student's high school career, where you're getting ready for that big next step. Now, I shared my story about how I went through the college admissions process, and I went about it in a way that I would not recommend any of my clients to do it, strictly because, the decision that I made to go to the school that I went to was more or less an emotional decision that I made. Again, I shared my backstory about how, I grew up in New York, first 13, 14 years of my life, and then ended up moving to New Jersey. And I was really motivated to go back to New York by any means necessary, just so that I could be around my family and friends again. So if I was able to do that and still get a college, education, then that was the place for me. So I was really motivated to do that. And ultimately, that's what I did after I graduated high school. So I got into the school that I wanted to go to. And again, I really just wanted to be around my family and friends. And it all worked out, I believe, in a way that it was supposed to. I think I actually loved my college experience, and I shared that, and I wanted to make sure that I was clear about that. And I think that was pretty clear because nobody, from my alumni network or from the school that I went to sent me any hate emails, anything like that. But I absolutely loved my college experience. I would do it all over again if I could. But to be honest, the way that I went about making the decision to go there is not a way that I would recommend anybody to do it. Again, any decision that you make, just like solely or strongly influenced or motivated by your emotions, is more than likely not a good decision to make, because again, emotions are temporary, feelings are temporary, and decisions can have long-term implications for how your life will turn out. So you definitely don't want to make a long-term decision based off of a temporary feeling. And I spoke about how I would really recommend students to really take the time to explore themselves, explore what it is that they really want to do, what their passions are, what their interests are, because whatever decision you make in terms of which school or which program you want to get into or which career path that you want to get into really should align with what it is that you've discovered about yourself, what your strengths are. What are some of the areas that you might want to work on? What environment really suits you best? And once you are able to find that and gain that information, then it will actually make the decision-making process a lot easier for you, because then you will make a decision on which school or program or which career to pick based on which one actually best suits your needs. And that's really the process, or at least the way that I would recommend any student or family to pursue this process. Really focus on the things that will best address what your needs are, and not the other way around. I recommended that students also have a conversation with somebody that really knows them. Have a conversation with your parents or a family member or a good friend, anybody that really has your best interests at heart first and foremost, that will steer you in the right direction, that you trust will steer you in the right direction. And also someone that knows, some of the things that you might want to work on also, right? That can provide you with some insight, to some things that you probably haven't considered before. I remember having that conversation with my sister when I was 17, 18 years old, and I wasn't really quite sure, what I wanted to major in or what career path I wanted to pursue. And, she pointed out some things in me that, even I wasn't even aware of about myself at that point in time. And that conversation was so profound in the sense that I think I look at it as a stepping stone that guided me in the direction to where I'm at right now, where professionally I'm in a career where, I'm providing insight, I'm providing help for people that they find beneficial and that they really appreciate. So everything that I'm doing now, I feel like really aligns with who I identify myself as being and what I identify what my core strengths are and what my core values are. And I put that into practice every single day. So more cases than not, it doesn't really feel like I'm doing work because I feel like I'm doing something that I'm passionate about and something that I really enjoy doing, which is helping people. Hence why I'm doing these segments here, right? So some of the other things that I didn't really share during last week's segment is that, the way that I probably would have approached, my college admission selection process a little bit differently is that, say if I did decide that I wanted to, go, to a school out of state, I probably would have, taken a gap year and lived in that area for at least like a year and a half, depending on however long it takes to gain in-state student status. And every school is different, so it's really important that you take a look at the school's policies when it comes to that. Because again, my decision to go to the school that I went to when I went to it was largely driven by emotions, and I actually ended up paying, out-of-state tuition for the first year and a half. And that's something that, had I done it differently, say if I took a gap year off or took a gap year and just took that time to like work and, expose myself to different things that would have, given me more clarity as far as, what it is that I want to do with my life, then I would be saving myself thousands and thousands of dollars, right? So clearly you can see that my decision led to or had some, financial implications that I'm still paying for today. Something else that I probably would have considered, and I may have shared this already, is that, I probably would have stayed in Jersey where I would just pay in-state tuition, from the get-go, right? I probably would have went to a state school. I've done my research, knowing what I know now about like, the profession that I'm in and, how I got here and like what my strengths are. I know what I would have majored in. I know what career I would have been going into. So that would have created a more clear vision for me as far as, what my first steps would have been as soon as I got into college. In doing my research, there was a school in Jersey that, I probably should have considered, which I didn't back then. And I would have been saving a lot more money. Or I would have went to community college for my first 2 years, gained some of that exposure to the college experience, right? Take some classes, find, interests in, in different study areas, different career areas as well, which then would have pointed me in the direction that would help me get to where I want to be, and then transfer to, a 4-year school where I would have gotten my bachelor's degree for a lot less money than what I'm paying for right now. So money is a huge factor, especially when considering what school that you want to go into or what program you want to get into, but it should not be the deciding factor. And that's another topic that we could talk about another time. But again, knowing what I know now, had I gone about it in either of those ways that I just mentioned, I would be saving myself a lot more money. And again, I don't regret, the school, the decision that I made and the school that I went to. I absolutely loved it. I would do it all over again. Met some amazing people there that I'm still in contact with today. But considering, some of the things that a lot of students go through, especially when it comes down to like paying for school and, going off to environments that, that they weren't truly prepared for, you really have to do your due diligence and do your homework, right? Do your homework on what it is that, would really benefit you in getting to where it is that you want to be at in life. And if you don't do that, you find yourself just making a lot of decisions that don't align with the vision that you have for yourself, or don't align with, the destiny that was created for you, right? And you'll find yourself just going through a lot of struggles and hurdles that could have been avoided if you just took the time to really plan more efficiently ahead. So that's some of the things that I would recommend for a lot of you who are in the middle of the process right now, just really do your homework, figure out what it is that you want to do with yourself, find your passion, find your interest, understand yourself a lot better before you make any decisions that will affect you in the long run. But again, this is not to say, or to speak against the idea of going out of state for school. There are definitely some opportunities that are out there that I think would be best fit for students that don't exist within their immediate environment. In fact, I spoke about how, I only completed, 2 applications for colleges, and I was actually working on a third one, for a school that was totally outside of, the area that I'm familiar with, right? Never been to that area before. Well, actually I have during a college tour, but outside of that, never really knew anything about it, but I was actually considering it, right? But I definitely do believe that there are some great opportunities that exist, both within your immediate area where you grow up, or within like your own town or state or city, and even outside of that too. So, you want to broaden your horizons, and have many options for yourself to consider. But definitely just take the time, slow down, figure out what you believe is best for you, and choose something that best fits what your needs are. That's it for this week's edition of If I Knew Then What I Know Now. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at PurposeNav, and check out purposenav.com for more information on our services, tips, updates, and additional content. And I see you all next week for our next edition.